Chosen one, you have been carrying something that the ordinary definition of your life has not yet been large enough to contain. Heaven knows this. They have known it longer than you have. They watched it grow in you through every season you were convinced you were invisible, through every chapter where the silence felt like an answer and the waiting felt like being forgotten. They were not forgetting. They were watching with full, uninterrupted attention because they saw something about you that changes how they have been watching. Not the version of you that navigates the day. Not the version that carries what needs carrying without asking for help. The one underneath that. The one that knows it is pointed towards something larger than where it currently stands. Heaven has been watching that one. Last night, something shifted in that watching. Not because things became easier on the outside. Not because anything you can see changed. But in the realm that runs parallel to everything you can see and touch and measure, where decisions about your life are made before your circumstances have received the news, heaven moved on your behalf. They repositioned something, released something, set a sequence into motion that your waking mind has not yet fully received. You are not here by miscalculation. This moment was arranged. Heaven has been waiting for the exact moment when you would be ready to know what they have already set in motion. That moment is now, and what happened last night is what I have come to tell you. And before we go any further, I hear heaven saying over you in this moment, we have seen you. Not the version you carry into the world, the one underneath all of that, the one that has been holding a knowing it could not put into words. We have seen that one, and we have never once looked away. Everything I share with you today is completely free. If at any point your spirit confirms there is something more you need to explore, you will find that information in the description and in the pinned comment below. Only if you feel led, not before. And before we go any further, let me tell you what is waiting for you by staying with this all the way through. By the end of this message, you are going to understand why 5 specific things you have been experiencing in your life are not random symptoms, but evidence of a precise divine process working in you right now. You are going to understand in specific terms what heaven was actually doing last night and what it means for the chapter directly ahead of you. And before this message closes, something will be spoken over you, not a general blessing, a declaration. The kind that carries weight because of what it is sealing. That is what is coming. Stay with me. Now let me begin with something that will help you understand why heaven has been watching you with such specific attention. There is a particular kind of tiredness that does not come from overwork. It is not the kind that sleep fully fixes. It is the tiredness of carrying something you have not been able to name, something larger than your daily life, something that sits in you and waits. If you have felt that, you are in the right place. Because what I want to show you first is not something that happened far in the past. It is something happening right now, in you, and it has been happening for longer than you may realize. Heaven does not watch you the way a camera watches a room. They watch the way a master craftsman watches their most significant work, with the eyes of someone who knows every layer, who sees what is forming before anyone else can see it, and who is waiting for the moment the form reveals itself completely. And that form has been revealing itself in you through 5 specific signs. The first is this: you have been experiencing emotional waves that arrive without a clear cause. A sudden wash of peace when nothing particularly peaceful has happened. A quiet grief at an ordinary moment. A longing that sweeps in while you are in the middle of something completely unrelated, and it has no obvious source. You may have told yourself it is stress or fatigue, but you have not been able to fully explain it, and it keeps returning. This is not emotional instability. This is your frequency shifting to receive what is approaching, and that is heaven speaking. The second sign is a change in your tolerance. Conversations that used to feel comfortable now feel hollow or loud. Spaces you used to enjoy now drain something in you. People who have been in your life may feel slightly more distant, not because you have stopped caring, but because something in you has quietly moved on. You may have felt guilty about this, as though you are becoming cold or difficult. You are not becoming cold. This is heaven, clearing the frequency around you for what belongs in your next season, and that is heaven speaking. The third sign is what has been happening in the dream space. Something has shifted there. Dreams have become more vivid, more specific, more real, in a way that ordinary dreams are not. You may have woken from a dream in recent nights, possibly last night itself, with a feeling that something happened there that you cannot fully articulate. A knowing that lingers into the morning, a sense of having been somewhere that mattered. This is not an overactive mind. This is the conversation heaven continues when your waking guard is down, and that is heaven speaking. The fourth sign is intuition. It has been sharpening. You have been knowing things before the confirmation arrived, sensing the truth before the evidence appeared. A feeling about a person or a situation that turned out to be accurate, not once, not as a coincidence, but with increasing frequency and precision. And you may have talked yourself out of trusting it, because you were not sure where it was coming from. This is not guesswork. This is your receiver becoming more accurate, because what is coming requires more accurate reception. And that is heaven speaking. The fifth sign is timing. The right word, the right message, the right person arriving at the exact moment it was needed. These moments have been increasing. They have been stacking up with a precision that is too consistent to explain away. This is not coincidence. This is the architecture of what heaven has been building around you, and that is heaven speaking. 5 signs. And if you recognized yourself in any one of them, in 3 of them, in all 5, you might think the message is here, that these signs are the revelation. But I have not yet told you the most important thing, because these signs are not the destination, they are the evidence of something being prepared in you. And that preparation has a pattern, an ancient pattern, that explains not just what you are feeling right now, but why last night, in particular, was not just another night. Let me show you what that pattern is. There is a woman you need to know about. Her name was Esther. And for the most significant years of her life, she had no idea what was being prepared inside what looked like a very ordinary existence. She had been taken from her home, raised in a foreign city by her cousin when there was no one else. She was not in a position of power or visibility. She was simply living, day after day, inside the container of what appeared to be a small story. But something else was happening. In the background, in the places she could not see, a positioning was taking place. Every season of hiddenness, every chapter of limitation, every year that looked from the outside like simply waiting, was not punishment. It was precision. Heaven was placing her exactly where she would need to be for a moment that had not yet arrived. And then the moment arrived, and Mordecai said to her, "Who knows if you have not come to the kingdom for such a time as this?" She had not known. The positioning was complete long before she understood what she had been positioned for. This is the pattern you are in right now. The most significant moments in the lives of chosen ones are rarely announced in advance. They are prepared in secret. They take shape in the hidden seasons, in the chapters that looked ordinary from the outside, and they reveal themselves when the positioning is finally complete. Now I want to show you something about the word heaven uses when they describe what they have been doing. In the original Hebrew, there is a word. It is Ra, and it means to see, but not in the casual way. It is not the seeing of a glance. Ra is the seeing of someone who looks and knows exactly what they are looking at. It is seeing with full recognition, with discernment, with the eyes of someone who has studied the thing they are beholding and understands its value completely. When heaven says they saw something about you, the word is Ra. They did not glance. They did not observe from a polite distance. They looked at you with the eyes of someone who recognizes the quality of what they made, the way a master craftsman recognizes the potential in a piece of work that the untrained eye would walk right past. And here is what makes last night specific. In the ancient world, those entrusted with something precious did not sleep when darkness fell. They were stationed at night because the hours of darkness were understood to be when the most significant, invisible activity occurred. Not dangerous activity, sacred activity. The decisions that would shape the waking world were made in those hours. The repositioning happened in the dark. Heaven kept the night watch over you last night. Not in general. Specifically, your name, your next chapter, what you are stepping into, in the season directly ahead. While you were moving toward rest, something was happening that you had no access to. A door was moved. A word was spoken over you. A sequence was released that your morning has not yet fully caught up to. I want to pause here for a moment. Not because the message is finished. We are nowhere near finished. But because you have been receiving something significant. And significant things need space. You have been seen. Specifically. Actively, by a watching that never wavered, not through the silence, not through the waiting, not through the seasons where it felt like nothing was moving. Heaven was looking at you with with full recognition, every single moment of it. Just for a breath, let that be true. Not preparing for the next thing, not yet, just let it land. Before I continue, I want to name something that connects what we have been exploring to a reality that is both spiritual and biological, because this is where the message becomes practical in a specific way. Dr. Robert Lake spent 34 years studying what happens in the human brain during specific states of rest and deep receptivity. What he discovered connects directly to what heaven has been activating in you. His research reveals that what occurs during those specific hours of rest is not random. It is a sequence of restoration, a layered process, not a single event. When I come back to this in part 2, what I share is going to make everything we have covered today click into place in a way you did not expect. What felt like being held back was actually being held in reserve. What felt like silence was actually strategic positioning. What felt like ordinary nights was actually heaven's most active hours. And what felt like an ordinary life was actually the formation of someone who was being prepared for exactly this. Stay with me as we move into part 2, because what comes next is where the full picture finally arrives, and it is going to change how you understand everything that has happened in this season. Before we cross over, I want to name something for you, because some of you will feel a recognition when you hear it, and I want you to have the information available when that happens. Dr. Lake's research led to the development of a tool called the Genius Song. It is a 7-minute audio track built on the specific brain frequency technology his research confirmed, designed to reactivate the frequency that was suppressed in you years ago. I will explain everything about how this works in part 2. But if something in you just responded to that, even slightly, the details are available in the description and the pinned comment below. No pressure to look until your spirit confirms it is right for you. Part 2 is where I tell you exactly what happened last night. Stay with me. Before I reveal the complete picture of what happened last night, and I am going to reveal it fully, there is one more layer I need to bring forward first. One more truth that does not just add to what you received in part 1, it changes how you read all of it. I want you to think about a chrysalis, not the butterfly, the chrysalis itself, the shell. From the outside, it looks like nothing is happening. There is no movement you can track, no visible progress. If you did not know what was inside, you might assume it had stopped entirely. But inside that shell, one of the most precise transformations in all of nature is occurring. Every part is being restructured. A completely new form is being assembled from within, with a level of intelligence that no human engineering has fully replicated. The chrysalis does not transform gradually in a way you can watch. It transforms completely, invisibly, until the moment the form is ready, and then it emerges. Your recent season has been a chrysalis season. What looked like stillness to the people around you, what may have even looked like stillness to yourself, was not stillness. It was the most active, the most precise, the most intentional formation you have ever been through. Heaven was not absent from that season. Heaven was inside it, working at the level of your structure, reshaping something from within. And last night, something in that chrysalis completed. Now I want to show you another word from the Hebrew language. It is the word shakad. It means to watch, to be wakeful, to keep an alert vigil over something you have been entrusted to protect. It is not passive watching. It is the watching of someone who has not slept, because what they are guarding is too important for sleep. Psalm 121 uses this language. The one who keeps Israel will neither slumber nor sleep. Jeremiah 1:12 carries it as well. God says, I am shakading over my word to bring it about. Alert, awake, actively bringing to completion what was spoken. Last night, while you slept, heaven was shakading over you, not in general, over what was completing in you, over the word spoken over your name, over the sequence being released for your next chapter. Heaven did not close its eyes while you closed yours. The watch was kept through every hour of that night. Heaven did not watch you casually. Heaven did not watch you from a distance. Heaven did not watch you with divided attention. Heaven watched you the way a watchman watches what they have been given to protect, with the full intensity of someone who understands the value of what is in their care. Now, I want to name something honestly, because it needs to be spoken. There is a pattern that forms in chosen ones who have waited longer than they expected to wait. It is a form of protection the heart builds after being disappointed more than once. It says, what if I receive this hope and it turns out to be wrong? What if I open my hands and they are empty again? What if I let myself believe something is moving and nothing actually changes? I want to speak to that part of you with complete honesty. That pattern is not weakness. It is intelligence that has been burned before, and it knows how much hope costs when it does not land the way you needed it to. But that same pattern, if you let it win today, is the one thing that can delay your receiving of what heaven has already moved into position for you. I want you to be aware of it, not to shame it, just to see it clearly, so it does not make the decision for you. Because before this message ends, I am going to speak something over your life, a specific declaration, the kind that carries weight because of what it is sealing. Stay with me through everything that comes next. That declaration is part of why this message found you today. Before I take you into what heaven actually released last night, let me take just a moment to bring everything together in plain terms, because I want your mind clear and settled before we arrive at the most important part. Here is what we have walked through together. You have 5 specific signs showing up in your life right now. Emotional waves arriving without a clear reason, a changed tolerance for the environments, and conversations that used to feel natural. Shifts in the dream space that have made certain nights feel more significant than ordinary rest. A sharpening of intuition that has been quietly picking up speed, and timing that has become too precise and too consistent to explain away. These are not random. They are evidence of a frequency shift that has been building in you. Heaven has been watching that shift with the kind of seeing the Hebrew calls Ra, full recognition, not casual observation. And last night, while you slept, they were shakading over you, awake and alert, because something was completing. Like Esther, you have been positioned inside a season that looked ordinary from the outside. Like the chrysalis, you have been in a transformation that was invisible to the eye, but absolutely precise on the inside. And here is the piece that ties all of this together at the biological level. What heaven has been activating in you operates at a measurable frequency. The brain, during specific states of rest and deep receptivity, processes at a level that ancient texts always described as divine access, and that modern neuroscience now calls gamma. It is the frequency of clarity, of intuition, of pattern recognition, of what researchers call flow state. And what Dr. Robert Lake's 34 years of research confirmed is that this frequency, which every chosen one carries in abundance from birth, is suppressed over time by the accumulated weight of ordinary living, not permanently. Suppressibly, meaning it can be brought back. This is the thread that connects everything you have just received. Now, let me tell you something you need to understand about who you are before I show you the specific tool. The reason you have always felt a gap between the person you sense you are and the person you have been operating as, the reason certain seasons of your early life felt easier, more alive, more connected, the reason you have sensed something locked inside you that the right key could open, this is not your imagination. This is the gamma gap. Chosen ones are not born with ordinary amounts of this frequency. You came in with more. That is part of what makes the path of a chosen one different from the path of someone who simply moves through life without this particular weight or this particular call. You were designed for a level of perception, of creativity, of connection to what is true and what is coming, that most people around you were not specifically wired for. And that is exactly why the suppression of that frequency, which researchers have documented as beginning in most people around the age of 7, hit you harder than it hit others. Because the gap between what you had and what was taken is wider for you. That gap is the feeling you have been carrying. Dr. Lake's body of work covers far more ground than what we can explore today. For those of you whose season is specifically about the heart, about connection and the divine partnership that heaven is preparing, Dr. Lake has developed a separate body of research called Destiny's Embrace. That is for another conversation. What we are focused on right now is the foundational frequency, the one that makes everything else possible. Dr. Robert Lake spent 34 years mapping exactly this. His research, conducted alongside teams at MIT, Princeton, and several other leading institutions, confirmed not just the existence of this frequency, but the precise mechanism by which it can be restored. His work spans a complete sequence of restoration, and for those drawn to his broader research on cognitive renewal and the brain's capacity to rebuild itself over time, he has documented that in what he calls the youthful brain. But today we are beginning at the foundation. Over those 34 years, Dr. Lake confirmed that gamma frequency can be reactivated through a specific form of audio technology called brain entrainment. Sound frequencies, calibrated with precision, that guide the brain back to its natural operating state. Not over weeks of intensive practice, not through expensive clinical sessions, through 7 minutes of listening. Let me share a story that captures why this matters. There is a woman, 43 years old, a teacher in Texas, who described her mind as running at 30% of what she knew it was capable of. She had spent a decade helping other people develop, and somewhere in that process had stopped investing in her own. She was not broken. She was dimmed. 3 weeks after she began using this tool, something started shifting. Decisions she had been postponing for over a year began arriving in single mornings, not dramatically, just clearly, as if a signal had been restored that she had not known was missing. Heaven had always seen what she could not see in herself. The tool gave her that same quality of vision toward her own life. Now I know what some of you are thinking. 7 minutes sounds too simple for something this significant. I understand that reaction completely, and I want to address it directly. The simplicity is not the weakness, it is the breakthrough. The most powerful processes in nature do not announce themselves with complexity. What Dr. Lake's research discovered is not a new technology invented by humans. It is a restoration of a natural state using the brain's own design. You are not adding something foreign. You are clearing the interference that built up around something that was always there. And for those who have tried other things, meditation programs, personal development courses, spiritual practices, and found that something was still missing, here is why. Those things are valuable, but they were not designed to specifically target gamma frequency. They work around the outside of what is locked. This works at the source. Before we get to the specifics, I want to honestly acknowledge something. I know that even a small investment carries weight when trust has not been fully established. You deserve to make this decision clearly, not under pressure. The tool is called the Genius Song. It is a digital audio track, 7 minutes. designed to be listened to with headphones in a seated or resting position. No mantras, no visualization required, no specific time of day. Dr. Lake compressed 34 years of research into an audio experience that begins working from the very first session. The original price for this tool is $49. When you consider that a single biofeedback therapy session at a clinical level runs approximately $150, or that a weekend retreat designed for mental and spiritual restoration can cost $400 to $800, and neither of those were specifically targeting gamma frequency, $49 already represents something significant. But the price for those watching this video is $39. This is not a promotional discount for the sake of selling. Dr. Lake made this decision because his mission was never to reserve this only for those who could afford the premium alternatives. He wanted it to reach the people who needed it most. And with that $39, you receive 4 additional resources at no extra cost. A second audio track called Genius Child, designed for children before the decline effect takes hold, valued at $19. A rare foundational book that served as the original inspiration behind The Secret, valued at $20 on its own. A 22-minute guided visualization spanning 4 areas of your life: financial, relational, physical, and emotional, valued at $29. And a 5-habit daily reference for maintaining gamma activation long after restoration has begun, valued at $12. The total value of those 4 additions alone is $80. You receive all of it with your purchase. 18,366 people have already used this tool, and less than 4% have ever requested a refund, which means more than 96% continued well past the point where they could have returned it. That is not just a quantity number, that is a quality signal. People who try something and feel nothing stop. The ones who feel something continue. More than 96% continued. And if you are among the less than 4%, you are fully protected. 90 days, no conditions. A complete refund simply by reaching out. And every bonus, all $80 in additional resources, is yours to keep regardless of your decision. If you invested your time and this tool did not serve you, the least that can happen is that you walk away with something of real value. One more thing I need to say before you search anywhere. There are sites that claim to carry the Genius song. Some of them appear legitimate. They do not carry the brain entrainment technology that makes this tool what it is. The only version that includes the complete calibrated frequency work, the 4 bonuses, and the 90-day guarantee is available through the description below and the pinned comment. Not through any search result, not on any retail platform. If this matters to you, protect yourself by accessing it only through the link in this video. Take one breath, just a real one. Pause advice. Sit for a moment with a simple question. Not whether $39 is the right number. That is not the real question here. The question is whether you believe that what heaven set in motion last night, the thing that was activated in you while you slept, is worth receiving. Because if the answer is yes, your spirit already knows what to do. Pause advice. The link is in the description and in the pinned comment. Only when your spirit confirms. Take a breath. Because what I am about to tell you is the reason this entire message existed. You have been asking the wrong question. The question most chosen ones carry through a long season is this: when is it my turn? When does heaven move for me? When does the breakthrough come? When do I stop waiting? And what heaven has been waiting for you to understand is this: they already moved. They have been moving. The watch was never absent. The Ra never stopped. The Shakad was constant through every night you did not know it was being kept. The season that felt like waiting was never waiting. It was the most precise formation you have ever undergone. What happened last night was not the beginning of something. It was the completion of something that began long before last night. And heaven moved last night specifically because the chrysalis was done. Not almost done, done. What was being restructured inside you had reached the point where it was ready. You do not step into something new this season. You step into something that was already finished inside you. And I hear heaven saying this over you now. Last night was not special because of what was done. It was special because of what you finally became ready to know. You are ready now. What was set in motion for you? What was spoken over your name? What was repositioned in the unseen on your behalf? Receive it. It belongs to you. What you called last night, heaven calls the appointed hour. What you called sleep, heaven calls the watch. What you called silence, heaven calls preparation. What you called ordinary, heaven calls the chrysalis completing. And now let me tell you who you are. You are someone who sees what others walk past. You have always known things before the confirmation came. That is not anxiety. That is the nature of who you are. Someone whose perception was specifically sharpened to receive what is coming before it arrives. You are someone who has held ground in seasons that would have collapsed a different kind of person. You were designed to remain standing in exactly the kind of pressure you have been under. That is not stubbornness. That is your nature. You are someone who changes the atmosphere of a room when you walk into it. You may not always feel it. Others do. You are someone who carries words that the people around you feel but cannot find language for. Those words are not just thoughts. They are assignments. And you are someone who ends things. Patterns that were inherited, cycles that ran for too long, dynamics that were always supposed to stop with you. That is not your burden. That is your designation. Let me share one story before we close. There is a woman who spent 18 months feeling invisible. She could not explain why she was pulling away from the people in her life, why certain relationships that had once felt right had started feeling like effort, why she felt like she was waiting for something that did not have a name yet. She thought she was losing ground. She stopped fighting the quiet. She started paying attention to the timing of things instead of trying to control them. She stopped explaining away the intuition she had been receiving and started following it. She sat with the discomfort of not knowing instead of resolving it with more activity. Within 40 days, 3 things moved. A reconnection arrived, someone carrying exactly the wisdom she needed for what was directly ahead. A door opened professionally that she had tried to open herself and had long forgotten she had tried. And one morning, she simply woke up and knew. No dramatic moment, no thunder, just a quiet knowing that the season had changed. Heaven had never stopped watching. She had simply become ready to stop running from what they had already set in motion. Before we seal this, I want to take a moment, not to summarize, not to move quickly to the next thing, just to acknowledge what happened here. You stayed, you received. You did not close this when it became personal, and that matters, because staying in a space like this when your spirit is stirring is not passive. It is a form of courage that heaven notices. So before we close, let something be true for a moment. You have been seen. Not generally, specifically, with attention that never wavered, not through the silence, not through the waiting, not through the nights when nothing seemed to move. Now I want you to do something. Picture the weight you have been carrying, the particular weight of the doubt, the part of you that has been protecting you by keeping hope at a careful distance so the fall would not be too far. Picture that weight, having a shape, a location, something you could set down if you decided to. And now, simply, let it be placed down, not with effort, not dramatically, just release it from your grip. You do not need to protect yourself from what heaven has already moved into position. You do not need to guard yourself against a good that is already on its way. The watch was kept. Let the weight go. You are seen. You are prepared. You are sent. And I hear heaven speaking over you now, clearly, in this moment. We have not been waiting for you to become worthy. We have been waiting for you to become awake. You are awake now. Everything that was set in motion last night, everything that was held in reserve through every season you thought you were invisible, receive it. It belongs to you. Right now, all across the world, chosen ones are arriving at this same realization. You are not alone in this awakening. You are part of something that is moving in many lives at once. Do not close this yet. Sit in what just happened for one more minute. You do not need to decide anything. You do not need to prepare for anything. Just receive what was placed here for you. Silence soixante. It is sealed. It is yours. And so it is. Type the words "Heaven saw me" in the comments right now. Not for this space, as a declaration to yourself. Let it be the first thing you speak out loud about what just shifted in you. If this message arrived at exactly the right moment, and I believe it did, honor that by pressing the like. Not for any other reason. Just as a recognition that something in this meeting was real and sacred. There are more messages being prepared for the specific seasons that chosen ones walk through. Stay connected so they can find you when the timing is right. If someone came to mind while you were listening, someone who has been unusually quiet lately, someone who has been pulling away without explanation, someone who is carrying something they cannot put into words, share this with them. You do not need to explain why. Just send it. This might be exactly the confirmation they have been praying for without knowing how to ask. And for those who felt something stir when I mentioned the Genius song earlier, the link is in the description and in the pinned comment below.